You have been a great audience, not only rapt attention, but incredible bladder control as well. I am awed by, and I'm also awed by the panel. And let me tell you a little story. I received the very kind invitation to come down and speak on Monday, and I told my representative, my Washington representative, to say, thank you very much, but I don't know hardly anything about this subject. So, you know, I'd love to come, but I don't think I'm qualified to come. And she took that message back, and your representative said, no, we want the governor to come down, and please join us. And I was somewhat compelled and interested because of the level of the other panelists that you were going to have, so I came down. And I'm glad I did. Normally, I try to impart some level of wisdom to the audience that I'm speaking in front of. But what's happened here is you all have imparted a tremendous level of wisdom to me. First, with the representatives that I spoke to earlier in the week, your representatives. Secondly, from the material you sent me. Thirdly, from a discussion we had with some of your representatives, Governor Dean and myself, earlier this morning. And fourthly, from listening to these panelists. And this has been a terrific learning experience for me, someone who knew practically nothing about the issues. Look, I've been in public life for 33 years, but it's been as a district attorney, a mayor, and a governor, and the chairman of the Democratic Party. I've focused almost exclusively on domestic issues. I have opinions as a citizen about foreign policy, but I knew very little. But let me tell you, it's been a great learning experience for me. And as a result of what I've learned, on Monday, I will send a letter to President Obama and to Secretary Clinton telling them, one, that the United States is morally bound to do everything we can to ensure the safety of the residents of Camp Ashraf. And two, if Director Free and General Shelton and General Conway and Governor Dean and the rest of these great panelists say that MEK is a force for good and the best hope we have for a third option in Iran, then good Lord, take them off the terrorist list. Take them off the terrorist list and take them off now. I don't know much about the subject matter, but I do know a little bit about how to convince people to take action, to convince people to vote one way or to express an opinion one way. Good Lord, in my first year as governor, I raised the second highest amount of taxes in one fell swoop in the history of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and 3 years later I got reelected by 21 percentage points. So I do know how to convince people to do things that are in their best long-term interest and short-term interest. And you were making a mistake. As great as it is that you're here and that you do the things you do and you care so much, you were making a mistake that an organization that I co-chair with Mayor Bloomberg of New York and Governor Schwarzenegger of California, Building America's Future. It's an organization that's dedicated to getting the country to finally do something about our own infrastructure, which is in desperate disrepair, and you know that in Northern California as well as anybody. But we made the mistake of concentrating all of our efforts inside the Beltway. We will never convince people inside the Beltway by the merits of our arguments to invest the type of money that's necessary to give the American people a safe, economically competitive infrastructure. In the current atmosphere, there is no chance. Our arguments are right, they're correct, they're smart, everybody knows it. We will never convince them in the Beltway. We finally realized that, and we're about to launch a public relations campaign outside the Beltway, in Oklahoma City, in Des Moines, in Portland, in Waco, Texas, to convince people so that they can give their representatives a permission slip saying, yes, we know we've told you we don't want the government to spend a lot of money, but it's okay to spend on making sure that our bridges, our roads, our dams, our levees are safe. It's okay to spend to make sure that our roads can move goods competitively. It's okay to spend so to make sure that America has first-class ports and airports. And we've been doing it all wrong. And you've done a great job inside the Beltway. And you're here in force, and you're here in numbers, and you're here with great cogent arguments, and you're winning the battle inside the Beltway. But that will get you just so far. You need to win back the hearts and minds of the American people. Short run, long run. You need to win them back. Let's take what happened at Camp Ashraf. To me, it's an absolute disgrace that so few Americans have a clue that it happened. If you were to go out into the streets of Washington, the streets of Philadelphia, streets of Boston, streets of Chicago, and ask the first 1,000 people you saw, can you tell me what happened at Camp Ashraf? How many of you think would say, give you the right answer? One, maybe two. To be honest, and I try to read everything, I did not know as of Monday about Camp Ashraf. I did not know. And if I didn't know, how did the average American citizen know? And the thing that's so amazing is our people, and I believe this with all my heart, they're genuinely fair. They have the same values that you have. They want the same things for themselves as you want for both America and Iran. And they believe in honoring their word. If the American people knew that every single resident, including the 34 who died or 36 who died, and all those who were injured, signed a piece of paper with the American government saying they give up their weapons because we promised to protect them, and we failed miserably. We were either directly or indirectly complicit in what happened. The American people would be outraged, But they don't know. And because they don't know, there's no pressure. Government's all about pressure. Governor Dean, where are you? It's all about pressure, right? Competing pressures. We who sit in the decision-making chair get pressure from this side, pressure from that side, pressure from that side. Hopefully, we withstand the pressure and do what's right. Sometimes. But it's all about competing pressure. And right now, there's some pressure to keep the status quo. There's some pressure not to interfere in Ashraf because we don't want to upset the Maliki government. And there's no competing pressure. So we need to get out there and paint the picture for the American people. Let them know. Let them know. We're proud of what we did in Kosovo. What the American government and the American people did in Kosovo kept 500,000 Muslim Kosovars from genocide. We're proud of what we did. And if you talk to President Clinton, it's one of the single proudest things he has about his time as president. We're proud about the things we've done right. And when the Libyan crisis was at its peak, when Gaddafi was massed to commit genocide, the American people didn't want to get involved in another conflict, but they also knew that we should keep innocent people from being slaughtered. We can win this battle in the short run about Ashraf and in the long run about what's going to happen to Iran, because the American people have to be told that there is a force out there that wants to make change, that those young people that you described and the women are ready to make change, that they just need a little assistance, and that they'll create a government that will share the wealth. We'll have common prosperity around the country, the single most important thing they need. There is a government that will give women their rights. There is a government that will treat Arab, Jew, and Iranian equally. There is a government who will respect religious freedom and tradition. There is a government possible. If we can paint that picture, we can not only in the short run do what's necessary to protect the residents of Ashraf, but in the long run we can create that third option, that it doesn't have to be conflict. As the General Conway said, the third option is regime change, but not regime change at the end of American tanks, but the regime change on Twitter, on Ping, on apps, on everything. That regime change that comes from the hearts of people. Because when the hearts of people are united in the right cause, history has shown that you can keep them down for a while. The military force and the public executions that are going on can scare them and inhibit them for a while. But at the end, that's a tidal wave that can't be stopped.
Thank you very much, Governor. And the Governor's exactly right. You've been a very patient and wonderful audience, and I don't want to keep you much longer, but I do want to summarize what I think we've heard here today. We've heard eloquent testimony from each of our speakers as to why it's in America's national security interests to support the residents of Camp Ashraf and to delist the MEK. The MEK has provided valuable assistance to the United States in uncovering elements of Iran's nuclear weapons program. The MEK opposes a regime that is responsible for the deaths of American soldiers. The MEK opposes a regime that has acted and that continues to act to destabilize and dominate the region, including acting as the world's leading state sponsor of terror. So yes, we do have important national security interests involved in this issue. But there's more at stake here than just American interests. American values are at stake as well. We have given our solemn word that we would protect the people of Camp Ashraf. The protection of these defenseless civilians is a fundamental human right. This is a principle that the United States has long championed all over the world. Our voice, our efforts, our values to promote human rights cannot stop at the gates of Camp Ashraf. The fight being waged to delist the MEK, the fight to protect the residents of Camp Ashraf, this fight is not their fight alone. It's not your fight alone. It is America's fight as well. Both our interests and our values are inextricably linked in this case. To the residents of Camp Ashraf, we stand with you. We will continue to work to change U.S. policy, and we will not rest until we succeed. Thank you very much.